I believe we are live. Now, Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs have declined to rest on their laurels despite the fact that they have won 2 consecutive Super Bowls and are obviously attempting to win a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. They have already made moves on their 90-man roster to the effect of signing a wide receiver from... Hello? I have no idea what just happened. I think we skipped out again. Anyway, Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs are refusing to rest on their laurels despite the fact that they have won 2 consecutive Super Bowls, are attempting to win a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. They made a change to their 90-man roster after a 74-man rookie minicamp, where they decided that one of the UDFA wide receivers they had signed was not up to snuff, maybe, and a different wide receiver that was on that same practice field was more to their liking. Now, about a week later, they've done the same thing. The Kansas City Chiefs, according to Arrowhead Pride, have cut Matt Dickerson and re-signed Cole Christensen. Matt Dickerson being a defensive tackle, Cole Christensen being a linebacker. We're going to get into the implications of what this might mean in just a second, but this in the article from Arrowhead Pride on re-signing Cole Christensen and cutting Matt Dickerson. Quote, Christensen originally signed with the Los Angeles Chargers as an undrafted rookie free agent out of Army in 2020. He spent the 2023 season on Kansas City's practice squad. Following a season-ending injury to the first-year linebacker Cam Jones early in the postseason, the Chiefs signed Christensen to the active roster. Christensen took 70% of Kansas City's special team snaps in Super Bowl 58. The Chiefs tendered him a minimum salary contract as an exclusive rights free agent early in the offseason, but the tender was rescinded on May 3rd as the team added undrafted free agents ahead of rookie minicamp. To make room for Christensen's return to the 90-man roster, the Chiefs also released defensive tackle Matt Dickerson on Monday. The 6-year veteran out of UCLA had almost continually been on and off Kansas City's roster since 2022. He appeared in 12 games for the Chiefs in 2023, totaling 15 tackles. Now, here is what I want to talk a little bit about before we get into analysis of what these moves might mean. Who is Matt Dickerson? What did he do for the Kansas City Chiefs last year? He played 190 defensive snaps and 7 special team snaps. It is interesting how they must have decided which special team snaps to have him on the field, appearing in 12 games and garnering 12 special team snaps. But outside of that, 15 tackles, 7 of them were solo, 1 tackle for loss. Not a whole lot to do, but he was a backup defensive tackle after all. He was a 6'5", 292-pound defensive tackle, so he is a Chris Jones type defensive tackle. Not Chris Jones, obviously, but a longer, more athletic type of defensive tackle. He was not a run stuffer, but neither necessarily was he a pass rusher, ending the season with 0 sacks. So this is when I talk about defensive tackles, this is why I am so kind of nonchalant about it. Most of the defensive tackles in the NFL are just big guys who can be on the field. Most of the defensive tackles on the field in the NFL will never make a difference in a game. It is a very difficult position at which to be effective, at which to be actually meaningful on the field. This is why players like Chris Jones are so very important. Now, Cole Christensen, for his part, has played in 2 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs, 0 defensive snaps, In 2022, he played 18 special team snaps, and in 2023, he played 23 special team snaps. The confounding thing about Cole Christensen, well, maybe it's not about Cole Christensen so much as it is about the Kansas City Chiefs roster as a whole. Cole Christensen is being brought back to the Kansas City Chiefs for what must be the 5th time, right? He has been on the roster, off the roster, was cut recently, or released, I guess, different than being cut recently, and kind of the same thing, but maybe a little nicer to be released than cut. But anyway, in 2 seasons, he has played 42 snaps of defense, or 41 snaps of defense or of special teams for the Kansas City Chiefs. 41 snaps. He was with the Chargers for 2 seasons prior to the Kansas City Chiefs. He played more snaps on special teams for the Chargers in each of those seasons, playing 61 special team snaps as a rookie for the Chargers and 51 special team snaps for the Chargers in his 2nd season. This is just a testament to how deep these Kansas City Chiefs are, and they keep bringing him back. They must like the guy, and the guy must like being in Kansas City. I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, Cole Christensen nearly signed with Mizzou out of high school before opting to go to Army. Please correct me if I'm misinterpreting that, misremembering that. I cannot find that anywhere online, but I could have sworn that was the case. Now, what do these pair of moves mean for the Kansas City Chiefs? Now, this is interesting because we know the Kansas City Chiefs. I've got my links all messed up. No, the Kansas City Chiefs brought in one defensive tackle, one real defensive tackle as a UDFA. If we look at their defensive linemen that they signed as UDFA, they are all listed as defensive linemen with the exception of Truman Jones, who is designated as a defensive end. I don't see any other names there besides Fabian Levette, that I know of having an actual chance with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's possible one of them does and one of them impressed, and the Kansas City Chiefs decided that Matt Dickerson was expendable because of one of these other defensive tackles. In my opinion, this move, these 2 names, one being let go, one being brought back, means one of these UDFA probably played above snuff. One of these UDFA probably played below snuff. But maybe not necessarily poorly. Because, listen, the Kansas City Chiefs did not draft either a defensive tackle or a linebacker. So these moves almost exclusively have to be representative of the UDFA that they brought into town. If it is that Fabian Levette's signing as a UDFA made the Kansas City Chiefs look around their roster and decide that Matt Dickerson was indeed expendable, this is a very good sign for the Kansas City Chiefs. Matt Dickerson was only called on, as we just looked at, for 190 snaps last season at defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. 190 defensive snaps is quite a few snaps over the course of a season for an undrafted rookie free agent defensive tackle to be playing. Now, what are the strengths of Fabian Levette versus Matt Dickerson? I do not mean to disparage Matt Dickerson. Matt Dickerson, as far as I can tell, did not have any strengths. This is not to say he was a bad player. This is not to say he does not belong on an NFL roster. This is not to talk down on Matt Dickerson at all. It's just to say there's nothing that stands out about Matt Dickerson's game, at least to me, right? Not a professional scout, just saying for what I am worth. Fabian Levette is a run stopper. Now, here's the gamble. Here's the gamble. Rookie minicamp is not full contact. If the Kansas City Chiefs had in Fabian Levette in the hopes of finding a defensive tackle that is a run stuffer, found Fabian Levette and decided, that's the one, man. That's the one we got to have. And they're doing this completely on the fact that this is a non-contact minicamp, could be a gamble. I don't think we have to worry about this coaching staff gambling in that way. I think that this coaching staff largely knows what they are talking about. I think that if Fabian Levette's presence made Matt Dickerson, who was off and on the roster versus the practice squad for like the article says, 2 seasons for the Kansas City Chiefs, if Fabian Levette made that obviated that move in so little as a rookie minicamp, it could mean that Fabian Levette is actually in line to get some substantial snaps. Not necessarily, not starter snaps, but we're seeing that he has obviated the release of a guy who played 190 snaps last season for the Chiefs. Maybe Fabian Levette will even play 8 special team snaps, blowing the 7 special team snaps played by Matt Dickerson out of the water. What else can we surmise from this move? The Kansas City Chiefs love having UDFA linebackers kicking around the roster for whatever reason. They love to carry more linebackers than they know what to do with, and special teams are a big reason why. The obvious answer for what linebacker from this UDFA class, because again, they didn't draft any, what linebacker from this UDFA class was going to be more roster ready than any other? The answer was obviously Curtis Jacobs. If we are to make a read from the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are welcoming Cole Christensen back onto their roster, it may be that Curtis Jacobs was not as ready for NFL play as perhaps they had hoped. Obviously, this is not a sure thing. We are on the outside looking in. They seem to like Cole Christensen. So that is, you want to have the guys around. What if you're looking for a special teamer, does it really matter what position, quote unquote, he plays? If you are getting a guy who has played 0 defensive snaps during his entire stint in the NFL, 4 seasons now. It's not like he's a new guy. So when we look at the linebackers on the Kansas City Chiefs roster, Nick Bolton, Swayze Bozeman, Leo Chanel, Jack Cochran, Curtis Jacobs, Cam Jones, Drew Tranquil, Luque Washington, and now Cole Christensen. We have 9 linebackers here on the roster. You have an entire side of the football. You could run out there a special teams unit that is a long snapper, whatever long snapper you want, a kicker, punter, doesn't matter, and the rest of the players could be linebackers. That's overkill. We'll just put it out there. That's overkill. The Kansas City Chiefs could field an entire special teams unit of linebackers. I do not believe that this necessarily means Curtis Jacobs does not make the team, that Curtis Jacobs does not make the practice squad, that Curtis Jacobs does not make a special teams unit this season. Brett Veach has shown the penchant for absolutely loving competition. Having 9 linebackers in your training camp is going to breed competition. And, here's another thing. The obvious answer at linebacker as a UDFA for the Kansas City Chiefs making the roster, not making the roster, maybe having an impact is Curtis Jacobs. Curtis Jacobs, in my opinion, is an NFL player. They also have Luque Washington as well as Swayze Bozeman, that maybe one of them did not perform up to snuff. Here's the thing, though. You didn't bring Cole Christensen back to the roster by cutting Luke Washington or Swayze Bozeman or Curtis Jacobs. You brought him back by cutting Matt Dickerson. So, it is, while this probably does mean a defensive tackle from the rookie minicamp outperformed, overperformed, performed beyond expectation, while this probably does mean that, it does not necessarily mean that one of the linebackers underperformed. What would have been interesting is that there are no shortage of players on the streets right now. Players who, may be an NFL player, better than the 90th man on the Kansas City Chiefs roster. So these are perhaps unspectacular moves, but this really goes to show you the lengths to which Brett Veach and company want to make this third consecutive Super Bowl. We have had a rookie minicamp. That's it. That's all we've had. A rookie minicamp. And the Kansas City Chiefs have already traded out 4 players. Signed 2, released 2. That's madness. That is absolute madness. Who else? And look, I'm sure somewhere else in the NFL there is a roster that is going through this much flux this early in the offseason. I don't know who it is. I don't remember this from any other season. So now the other, and I'll get to comments after this. I'll have to scroll back up here because I'm so popular, guys. The other obvious, yes, Steve has already chimed in with this. The obvious second story here, week 1, the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football will be facing the Baltimore Ravens. We talked a little bit yesterday about how wild it would be if the NFL front-loaded the Chiefs' schedule and then the Chiefs went out and executed, right? We talked about this just yesterday. And today, what happens? What do we hear? The Kansas City Chiefs will be playing the Cincinnati Bengals in week 2. Guys, you know as well as I do, it's tough for a team to start 0-1, right? We've been there. Patrick Mahomes has started 0-1 once. So for the Ravens to have to go through that would be absolutely devastating. For the Chiefs did it and then won the Super Bowl. If the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes starts hot, if the Chiefs, and Andy Reid loves to go on early season winning streaks, if the Chiefs start this 2024 season 2-0 with wins against the Ravens and the Bengals, we won't hear the end of it. Now, obviously, it's early. We can't go talking about 2-0 before the first preseason, before the first snap of training camp. But just think about it. If the Kansas City Chiefs execute in the first 2 weeks of this season against guys, I think the Bills had a pretty good draft. I don't know how you think that this offseason was a win for the Bills. Maybe somebody can talk me into it. I don't know how anyone believes this offseason was a win for the Buffalo Bills. Meaning, the 2 most legitimate contenders to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC are the Ravens and the Bengals. It's the Ravens and the Bengals as Team 2A and 2B. If the Chiefs start off the season with wins against both of them, it's a long season, 17 games. It is difficult to understand it is difficult to foretell a situation under which that season becomes derailed, right? Injury is the only thing really, which is always a threat in football. Chad says, lunchtime with scrambling, my new way to avoid talking to my coworkers. Hey, man, I'm with you. I am not a coworker conversation guy either. So I am glad that I can be here for you. Scrambling, your contributions to society continue to pave the way for many of us loners, many of us oddball, weirdo, singular individuals. I'm here for you, Chad. Lego says, how's it going? It's all right. I was not expecting to get news about week 2 today, but we did. We got it. Ruben says, love it making the squad. This certainly makes it seem like it. Now, obviously, you don't, obviously I'm just reading too much into things. But if there's anything to be read from the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs did cut Matt Dickerson a week after rookie minicamp, it's that. That's what you can read into it. Where are we at? Chad says, this is Tershawn. Steve, you said about observation is interesting. I'm not sure I follow that that comment. It might be too late for me. I might be misreading that. I'm not sure what you're getting at there. If you want to re-type the comment, I will try to address it. Chad says, this is Tershawn's make or break year to be a penetrating defensive tackle. Yeah. Here's the thing with Tershawn Wharton, win, lose, or draw, his career has been absolutely a win. If Tershawn Wharton gets cut tomorrow for the Kansas City Chiefs to re-sign a linebacker that they had 3 years ago, because that seems to be what we like to do. If Tershawn Wharton was cut tomorrow, his career's a win. I don't think you can come from where he came from, go through the route of UDFA, play as many games and as many snaps as he has, and consider yourself not having made it. That's a great story. Ruben says Jacobs makes the team. I don't know, Ruben. We're going to see. We're going to see real quick, I think. Steve says the Walmart Broncos may now have the worst uniforms in the history of the NFL. I don't know what to say about the Broncos, guys. I really don't. I don't know what they're doing with their roster. I don't know what they're doing with their uniforms. I don't know what they're doing on any level. The reason I don't like to speak out on it so much is because I am in such utter confusion about it that if I do speak out on it, it's going to be in such a negative manner that if the Broncos win 8 games, I'll look like an absolute moron. I don't know how they get to 8 wins. Maybe it's there. And I know I said last year after both of the Broncos games that team doesn't look as bad as their record. That team looked better than their record to me both games last year. But then the more I watched them, the more I realized this is a team elevating to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs probably letting off the gas. They looked pretty bad in a lot of their games. So Chad says, if I recall, defensive tackle is supposed to be strong in next year's draft. Maybe Veach will address the defensive tackles next year. That's interesting because you did see him sign 2 1-year Noddy was brought back on a 1-year deal, right? And I believe that Tershawn Wharton was brought back on a 1-year deal as well. Brett Veach, you can see the way he works sometimes, in that he will, if he thinks something is coming down the pipe, he will try to extend now on short terms and make an investment next year. We didn't really see big moves at the wide receiver spot, and I think it was because he understood that this season's draft was going to be absolutely loaded at wide receiver. Now it ended up biting them. They won the Super Bowl anyway, but it is fair for us to observe the fact that it bit them. But sometimes you're going to get bit either way. So you've got to pick where you're getting bit. This isn't one of those live streams, I promise. But I'm not one of those cam girls. The idea that you are going to forego a wide receiver in the first round in a year with very few marquee talents, as last year's draft was, but very deep, right? And hope to get a good wide receiver this year, ended up biting them as far as the pass production was concerned, but they still won the Super Bowl. Now, here's the thing. It kind of double bit them, because last year they passed on all those wide receivers all the wide receivers they could have had in the first instead of Rashee Rice in the second, and their first round pick, FAU, didn't get on the field anyway. So it kind of double bit them, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Gary says, Game 1 Ravens, Game 2 Bengals. It's fortunate we play our most serious contenders early. Yeah, and it's good that they do so well early in the season too. I mean, depending on how the rest of the schedule works out, big if, I understand you hate to count the chickens before they're hatched. If the Chiefs start 2-0 against those two teams, depending on how the rest of the schedule works out, guys, it could be coasting. You could be coasting by week 10. And I know. I said that last year too. I know. I'm very cognizant of the fact that I said that last year too. But they could have been, and then they started losing, right? James says, will you go live sometime during the schedule release? When is the schedule release? I'm a little bit out of the loop as far as like actual national news stuff is concerned. So if it is a televised thing, probably not. It is fairly likely that I will live stream a reaction to the schedule as a whole. I think that this, if I have to do the whole face channel deal as opposed to being absolutely nonny, probably something like the schedule release is as good an excuse as any to have a live stream type video as opposed to something that is produced. Gary says the Chiefs could have a really good offense and great defense this year. Yeah. Like, this could be a very scary team. It reminds me, it's been reminding me of those 2007 Patriots in the fact that preseason, I remember the preseason that year. I remember when they signed Wes Welker, or was it Randy Moss? For either way, I can't remember which one it was. But everybody said, oh, they're trying to go undefeated because Bill's mad. And then they signed the other one, whichever one it was, Wes Welker or Randy Moss traded for him. I can't remember how it worked out, when it worked out, what the dates were. But everybody just kind of said, oh no, they're really going for this. I don't know that this offseason is on that magnitude for the Kansas City Chiefs at this point, where everybody's like, oh, they're trying to go undefeated. But they've made big moves. They've made very underrated moves. They've made very stealthy, good moves, even down to their draft picks. Steve says, I think we go 13-4. Yeah, so prior to last season, 12 wins was Mahomes' floor, right? Let me look this up real quick. I'm pretty sure. Or 11, I guess. He went 11-3. That's right. 11-3 in 2019 because he missed a couple games. So Patrick Mahomes in 2018 was 12-4. In 2019, 11-3. 2020, 14-1. 2021, 12-5. 2022, 14-3. And last year, 10-6. Last year was the absolute seller as far as win totals for the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes has been. Patrick Mahomes in his NFL career is 74-22. So as much as I try to put my hands in the air and say we can't count on wins before yada, 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 2-0, when you've got a quarterback that wins 74 out of every 96 games that he plays, it's not that tall of an order. To go 1-1 is definitely not that tall of an order. Denny says it's 1:30 a.m. in the Philippines. My friend, are you in the clubs watching your favorite armchair? Chad says, do you want McCole? If so, who goes? I don't think I do. I think I'm all right on the McCole thing. I think I'm okay on McCole. I made this comparison during the season, after the first game that he returned from the Jets. McCole Hardman was like your ex-girlfriend, right? I mean, you know her. And you broke up for a reason, right? But she's in town, and it sure is late. And she did text you, right? She texted you, right? It was her idea. So, what's the harm? She comes over to watch a movie, you know? She comes over, you open the door, she sits down on your couch, you remember, oh yeah, we broke up for a reason. We were not together for a reason. There was a very good reason that she moved to California. So that was McCole Hardman. That was the McCole Hardman experience last season. We missed him because there were no other wide receivers. We got lonely. He texted before the Jets game. We were in town, decided to hang out. We trade for him. He comes to town, runs a couple of the wrong routes, drops a pass, doesn't run full speed. I mean, it was, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm done. I mean, if they do re-sign McCole, okay. But I hope he has to earn his playing time. Ruben says Turk is a backup and that's it. But hey, you have to have backups. You have to have backups. And he's not a bad one. Gary says 16-1. That would be a fun season. 16-1 would be. Can you imagine how awful Twitter will be if the Kansas City Chiefs go 16-1? Can you imagine how awful it will be? Chad says McCole, Xavier, and Hollywood, the 4-2 crew. It's got a good ring to it. It's very close to the 2 Live crew. It's just there's something somewhere missing. The 4-2 crew is good, but there's something somewhere missing. Also, it means we would have to re-sign McCole. So, oh no. It ran away from me. That's my Bill Clinton. Veach not signing anyone long-term unless they're elites, Ruben says. The Chiefs have, to my understanding, just over $15 million still on the salary cap. I think probably what we're going to see is... There's two possibilities, in my opinion, here with this $15 million. 15.3, 16.3, 15.3, I think. There's two possibilities with this. Number one, there is someone out there that the Chiefs are working on grabbing. Hunter Renfrow, one of the cornerbacks. There's somebody out there the Chiefs are working on grabbing. Number two, the Kansas City Chiefs are waiting until preseason plays out. During preseason, there's always fire sales, right? I've got 19 wide receivers. I'm only keeping XYZ of them. Here's a fire sale. Do you want an XYZ for blank? The Chiefs, in that situation, will be in position to be buyers. That's a buyer's market. When there's fire sales everywhere, it's a buyer's market. Brett Veach will be in a solid position to be a buyer's market, or a buyer in a buyer's market, whether that's for, and listen, could it be wide receiver? Maybe. The Kansas City Chiefs have a lot of guys right now they seem to believe in. Could it be a cornerback? I don't know that we have any reason to believe that any of the guys on the roster right now are the guy. Besides Trent McDuffie, right? But you had last year the guys. Brett Veach, Steve Spagnuolo seemed to like that model of having the guys. I like Jalen Watson. I like Jalen Watson a whole lot. I like Joshua Williams. Not as much as I like Jalen Watson, but I like him. Neither of those guys seems particularly enthused to grab that number 2 cornerback spot. Neither of those guys wanted to run away with the number 3 cornerback spot last year. So is it a corner that Brett Veach might want to be in position to buy? Maybe. There's also defensive tackle. The Chiefs did not address defensive tackle in the draft. They did not address defensive tackle in free agency. The question, Raymond, if I can go to Fight Club here. The question is, what will they be giving up in order to participate in that fire sale? Will they be trading draft picks to grab someone with a higher salary number? Will they be trading some of their depth somewhere? So I don't know. I rambled for a long time on that. I apologize. Scott says, I don't think we have seen the last of Dickerson. That's possible. He seems impossible to get rid of. He like I say, not having a strength is not necessarily a bad reflection on Matt Dickerson. It means that he's probably fairly solid everywhere. He's just not someone who's going to jump up and grab a starting defensive tackle spot. Ruben says 2-0 sets the tone for the rest of the season. 2-0 doesn't just set the tone for the rest of the season. 2-0 might set weeks 16, 17, and 18 as bye weeks. 2-0 there. Starting off 2-0, because maybe Harbaugh does something in the division. Maybe Antonio Pierce gets that team with a fire in their belly. Guys, it looks to me like this entire offseason for the AFC West was waving a white flag in order to try again in 2025. Everything seems to be tearing things halfway down in order to build them back up. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think you're winning the division. I absolutely think the Chiefs are winning the West again this year. Someone's going to say the Chargers because they have to. The media is contractually obligated to believe that the Chargers are going to win the AFC West, but that I don't think it's going to happen. So if you have the AFC West in your pocket and you've already opened the season with wins over the Ravens and the Bengals, what else are you doing? What else are you going to go out there and do? Sam says MVS. I've got to keep it kosher here. Signed with the Bills. Please, Chiefs, just don't bring back Mecole Hardman. Sign Mecole. Here, okay. I've got a new answer. Re-sign Mecole Hardman, and at the conclusion of the preseason, trade him to the Buffalo Bills for Keon Coleman, because I want Keon Coleman as a Kansas City Chief, if for no other reason than the press conferences. I had no idea that guy was a press conference monster before I said he was my number 2 wide receiver in this draft. I had no idea he was a press conference monster. Gary says Wednesday. I take it that is the schedule release on Wednesday. 5 or 6. If the schedule releases at 5 or 6 p.m., that is murder for me. There's no way I'm live streaming that. I apologize. Ronnie Smith says, re-sign Mecole Hardman. Don't put me through that, Ronnie. Don't get me red in the face. It's midnight for me. It's 1 a.m. for me. I don't need to get too mad. I don't need to get too worked up. So Sam says I'm all in on Nico Remigio making the roster this year. He's been a forgotten man. Nico Remigio has been forgotten almost everywhere. Not here. Near and dear to our hearts as a scrambling community. But how does he make the roster? That's what I will ask. How does Nico Remigio make the roster? What does that wide receiver core look like? How many names are they carrying? Because I think the answer is they're absolutely going to carry it. I think they're going to. Do they carry 4 tight ends? Travis Kelce obviously makes the team. I don't think Noah Gray is going to get cut. Jared Wiley I don't think he's bound for the practice squad. You have Irv and you have Baylor Cupp. Do they keep a 4th? Then you have to think all of these offensive linemen they just drafted. Are those guys going to sneak through to the practice squad? I don't know. There might be somebody poaching players the Chiefs try to sneak through to the practice squad just for the point of poaching them from the Chiefs. I think we might start to see teams get that desperate to derail what it is that Brett Veach is building. Daniel says, what's up, TSA? Good to see the regular live streams. Here's the thing, guys. If you like them, I can do more live streams. I am not a big live stream consumer. I am not a big fan of live streams. I think that live streams are, and I'm not saying anything about people who do them, right? But I think they're watered down content, in my opinion. And they're more conversational, right? That's fine. But in my opinion, that waters things down. So here's the real reason I think that I am so anti-live stream. I can't stand sports talk radio because when you're in the car, you've got like 8 minutes, 10 minutes to get where you're going, right? You're tuning in. Oh, let me hear what Bob Fesco thinks about the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's talking about his favorite movie from the 7th grade. I don't care. I honestly don't even remember the names of the guys on 810. I don't care. Nick Wright was good when he was in Kansas City. I'm a big fan of, and I haven't heard him for years now, Jay Binkley. Other than those 2 guys, in the history of sports talk radio in Kansas City, I can't think of anyone that I genuinely enjoyed. And to me, live streams feel like sports talk radio, but in a better way than sports talk radio, because I get to jump around wherever I want to jump around to if I'm catching it later, versus sports talk radio where I've got 8 minutes to get where I'm going, and I have to hear about Bob Fesco's encounter in the gym this morning. I don't care. Right? So that's what if this is something you like, guys, I can try to get over that stigma for myself. Schedule release is Thursday. Thursday might be doable. I'll look into it and try to figure out when it is. If I miss things, guys, this is jumping all over the place for me, so I do apologize. I figure I'll stick on for an hour, a little bit more maybe. Steven says, I just got here. What did I miss? Nothing, guys. We've just been hanging out. No, the Chiefs cut Matt Dickerson and re-signed Cole Christensen. I go over a little bit about how this might mean good things about Fabian Levette, how it might mean not as great things about Curtis Jacobs. So that is all of the business that we got accomplished to this point. James says McCole is pretty good at short to intermediate passes, but keep him away from those deep shots. Yeah. Maybe keep him away from the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core. He's bad for my blood pressure. McCole Hardman is bad for my blood pressure. James also says McCole is terrible at tracking deep passes. I think part of the time that's because he runs the wrong thing. It seems that he's supposed to be bending a route or not bending a route. Sometimes I think you're absolutely right that he's terrible at tracking it. Sometimes it looks like he stopped running. It's a cavalcade of whimsy with McCole Hardman. And at this point in McCole Hardman's career, if you sign up for it, you know what you're signing up for. There's no more ex-girlfriend phenomenon here. More hate on McCole from Sam. Sam says, McCole single-handedly almost lost us the Bill games, 2 jet sweeps, 2 fumbles, 1 inside the 10. Despite him, we survived. Yeah, we should do... I try to keep things positive. Maybe we should do a McCole stream at some point. Oh, Ruben says, Renfro, I think it comes down to the money. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Renfro's probably going to get offers from some place that are more than the Chiefs are willing to offer. Samuel says, do they trade one of those JW corners for a wide receiver? Maybe Joshua Williams or Jalen Watson. I don't know, because you've lost Snead now. Snead's gone. So the Chiefs are looking at both of their number 3.5 corners from last year, Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson, who were both a 3.5 corner as opposed to claiming the number 3 spot. You're looking at those guys being your number 2. I think they have potential with some of their other young guys, but, potential in one hand and spit in the other and see which fills up first. Steven says, what's the chances Veach strikes lightning 3 times with his corners, McDuffie, Snead, and question mark? Jalen Watson has certainly outperformed his draft position. Jalen Watson has single-handedly basically won 2 games in his young NFL career as the 3.5 corner. What could he do with more playing time? I think Jalen Watson's my pick for the number 2 corner spot. I think that he is going to continue, Brett Veach, hitting gold because he's sifting through so much alluvial soil that he's going to find some gold with those defensive backs. Sam says they'll bring Dickerson back if they need him in training camp, but Levette has probably taken a spot. I agree, Samuel. Daniel says, if we get out the gate and smack the Ravens right out the gate, let's go. Don't forget, you've got the Bengals in week 2, Daniel. Ruben says, Veach knows long season, injuries become a factor, having some money so we can get a player's support. That's true, too. But when you're talking about $15 million, you're probably talking about space for a couple players, especially if you're not signing Travis Kelce, right? So you're going to have some space for a couple of these mid-roster guys. Steve says, would having Mahomes wear knee braces like the lineman extend his future? During the regular season, maybe that's a gamble worth taking because he seems to have taken a no running during the regular season stance or a minimal running during the regular season stance. But those things do limit mobility. That's how they work, obviously. So if he does, taking them off in the postseason would likely be the route. I don't know about the efficacy of those on players that are skill position players. James says Nico will make the roster. The guy is a special player. He might have to be a special teamer in order to make the roster. I don't know what kind of numbers the Chiefs are going to carry at wide receiver. Chad says he likes the streams. I lost it, but Daniel says he likes the streams. Okay. I will work on scheduling in more streams. Zach says, do you think Erik Brizendine will get another job? He's got another job, doesn't he? He's do you mean besides college? He's in college right now, right? He's an offensive coordinator. Is it USC? Think of somebody on the West Coast. He's an offensive coordinator. If you mean NFL job, I have to believe he will. I don't know that he did anything. I don't know that he did anything to prove that he is not a coach, right? Will it be a head coach position? I don't know. Whatever is happening in those interviews for Erik Brizendine is going disastrously. So I don't know. Samuel says, wonder if the media asked Hollywood, is it Marquise or Marquise? Don't want him to do a MVS on them with it's Marquez, not Marquez. Here's the thing, guys. I don't lose my temper very often. We're here on a perfectly good day. We're here with some perfectly reasonable to speculate about news. We're here talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, and you guys want to keep bringing up Mecole Hardman and Marquez Valdes-Scantling? Are you doing this to get my blood pressure raised? Are you doing this because it's 1 a.m. for your old buddy scrambling armchair? And I will miss a night's sleep because MVS and Mecole VS make me so angry? Is that your point here? Well played, if it is. Chad says, what's your favorite movie from the 7th grade? I'm going to guess Donnie Darko. Great Googly Moogly. That is a movie, I believe, from when I was in the 7th grade. But no. When I was in the 7th grade, Blade, I believe, was Blade later. Blade was 98, right? Was a freshman in 2000. It would have been Blade, I think. Great movie, guys. 3-time Oscar winner. I don't know if you remember those Oscars, but Blade won 3 Oscars. Was voted unanimously as the greatest movie of all time. Just phenomenal if you've never seen Blade. Kathy says, you're great, TSA. Can't wait till you're monetized again. It's not fair. You have a lot of devoted followers. Life's not fair. Life's not fair, Kathy. Life isn't fair, and neither is Google. So Steve says Mike Florio can kick. Where's the Florio hate coming from? I haven't hated on him today. Is that left over from yesterday? I'm cool with it. We can hate Mike Florio all day if you want. Steven says, dude, you looked wiped the F out. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Always good to have some TLC through the comment section. Telling me I look like garbage. I appreciate it. Also, by the way, so I can't remember who it was. I think it was on the face reveal comment section, but not during the live stream. Someone said that if I had a purple bandana, I would look like Donatello. And that is the most creative way that I've ever been told that I look like a nerd. Thank you, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Samuel says this is the McCole stream. That's what we should rename them, McCole streams. James says live streams are fine, but some creators just use them as a money grab. There's no money grab in here, guys. I don't think I can even accept them while I'm demonetized. Steve says, I think Bert got a new haircut. Yeah. Got the old ears lowered. Gary says, I hope Xavier Worthy doesn't turn out to be McCole Hardman 2.0. I don't think we have to worry about that. And here's why. McCole Hardman, though I was unfamiliar with McCole Hardman while he was in college, so I cannot compare them necessarily to each other as college prospects. From the moment McCole Hardman entered the NFL, I don't think that he showed an ounce of the fight that Xavier Worthy has shown. And I'm not downplaying McCole Hardman. He's the effort shown by Xavier Worthy on a play-in, play-out basis is exponential to that we have ever seen from McCole Hardman. And if I could offer a word of advice to Xavier Worthy, if you're listening, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, don't do that in the NFL. The effort, try to make the catches, yeah. Do not put your shoulder into anyone in the NFL. Just Isaac Bruce it up. Make the catch. The moment someone looks at you, just fall on the ground. Take a knee. We are okay with that. That is absolutely fine. Xavier Worthy entered the NFL in the same wrestling weight class as my niece, who's 6 years old. Do not lower your shoulder in the NFL, Xavier Worthy. Please. Please. For the love of Super Bowl rings, do not lower your shoulder. Samuel says they got depth, though. Nick Jones, etc. Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs have depth for days at cornerback. I don't know that they have another L'Jarius Sneed on the roster. Samuel says Jalen Watson is my pick too. I think that is a solid selection. Samuel and James chime in with UCLA. I take that means Eric Brizendine is coaching at UCLA. That makes sense. That sounds familiar now. Samuel says, sorry, get some sleep. No, hey, don't be sorry. Raz, not Riz. Do not Riz me. Raz me. Tear me down. Make fun of me. It's absolutely fine. There's somebody, can't remember his name. He pops up like every 3 months in my comments section and makes some snide remark and then calls me butt wipe. And I don't know, in fairness, if he is calling me butt wipe or if he is just making sure that I remember to wipe butt. Sometimes I forget. Samuel says, Blade the Vampire Slayer. Yes. Buffy was good as well, the TV show. I don't remember the movie. The TV show was interesting. King Jamie says, I hope Kay isn't another Nicole as well. Who is Kay? Gary says, all the money they giving players in a few years could hurt the NFL. As far as the salary cap expanding, is that what you mean? Oh, King Jamie says Zay. He meant Zay, Xavier Worthy. I don't think we have to worry about him being McCole 2.0. Steven says, no, just tired, dude. Yeah, I am tired. I've been having a whole lot of trouble sleeping lately. Working overnight, sometimes that just happens. Sometimes you do not sleep. Sometimes you miss a night of sleep. And right now I'm getting between walking and running 35 to 43 miles per week. So missing a night's sleep is backbreaking at this point. I will be averaging about 50 to 60 in a couple months. So hopefully the sleep thing gets figured out. Steve says, if Bengals are a home game, does that mean we will have 3-game road trip? So yeah, thank you, Steve. I forgot to bring this point up. The Kansas City Chiefs opening the season with 2 non-division home games against conference rivals means that at some point the Chiefs are going to have a long road stint. I don't know if there is some favor working mixed in because the Kansas City Chiefs have done some international games. So the NFL is going to work with them to try to break those stints up or what. But it was kind of concerning to see 2 home game conference rivals in consecutive weeks at the beginning of the season because that necessitates a long road stint at some point. Thank you, Steve. I forgot to mention that. King Jamie says, did you see they caught a Tasmanian tiger on camera? Was this recent? Because I had heard that they thought they had one a couple months ago. If this is since then, so I'm all into not cryptocurrencies, cryptozoology. There's another word for it, but I can't remember what it. Anyway, all of that weird stuff is stuff that I was into as a kid. So I have heard that there was a Tasmanian tiger they thought on camera, but this was a couple months ago. So if this is since then, that's as cool as a three-peat would be. It might. Tasmanian tigers are pretty cool. Would I rather have a three-peat than a species still in existence? Yeah, I think I would. I hate to say it. Yeah, I think I would. James says the schedule release will be Wednesday, May 15th at PM via NFL Network. Yeah, I don't think I can do that. 5 p.m. That would be absolute murder. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize, but I can't do that. Yes, Samuel says, for the love of your collarbone, do not lower your shoulder. Guys, I think it's worse. For the love of every bone in your body, because Xavier Worthy was lowering his shoulder to linebackers in college. Please do not do that. Chad says, do you live in the U.S.? If so, why do you say it's 1 a.m.? I work overnights, so I have to be at work at 9 p.m. tonight. So Ruben says, working nights messes your sleep all up. Speaking from experience, yeah. You do not do it again. Cryptids. Thank you, Samuel. Cryptids. All right, guys. We are a little bit over an hour in. Is there anything else anybody wants addressed? I will stick around for a couple minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off and take 19 sleep agents. Samuel says his son works graveyard also. Yeah, it's rough, man. It is rough. Now, so the sort of upside is that it forces you to find what's important to you. Forces you, especially since. So another thing, I've been working overnights. I've worked overnights off and on my entire adult life because I'm antisocial. Yes, Samuel, I'm antisocial too. So I've worked overnights off and on my whole adult life, but I've been working since 2017 exclusively overnights. Well, not exclusively. I had some part-times that were like morning stuff. But where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, it forces you. So everyone thinks that stuff closes overnights now because of COVID. Not the case. Stuff started closing overnights in 2019 because of theft. People don't. I mean, that's 5 years ago now. Nobody remembers it, but things started closing prior to COVID because of rampant theft. So that's why. Now, I was told this by people who work there, so maybe this is not the case, but I was told that the Walmarts that used to be 24-hour started closing because there was too much theft there to keep them open. Samuel says you never really get used to that schedule. No, you don't. Your eyelids are only so thick for a reason. We have not. There is nothing in our biology that says you should be a night walker. If I can go back to a Blade reference, greatest movie of all time, by the way, won 3 Oscars. So there's that. Anybody else with anything to address? It forces you to find what you like. I found beer and whiskey. I went through that, Chad. I got to the point in my life where I realized I have to not. I cannot. Well, no. See, you're getting me. I'm trying to reason myself back into it. I have to not. If I do, I will. You know what I mean? So I still have a little bit of a problem with this stuff, but I am switching that to Zen now. So King Jamie says, thanks for the fun show. You keep me going at work. Have a good nap. Thank you for being here, King Jamie. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for making me a part of your day. Samuel says, daywalkers, vampires who can operate during the day. I am a non-vampire who can't operate during the day or night. Chad says he stopped too. We are in this together, brother. Gary says, thank you for the podcast. Thank you for being here, Gary. Oh, Graveyard's way better. Graveyard's way better than Swing Shift. I have to say that. Graveyard, one of the perks of Graveyard, most times, most places you work graveyards, are that you have a set schedule. When you're the swing guy, I've never worked anywhere where the swing guy had a set schedule. Nobody likes the swing guy. Swing guy's entire day is ruined. Swing shift, that's the worst. That is the absolute worst. Scott's in here. James says he'll take graveyard over swing as well. Yeah. Chad says he got tired of being told. Got tired of being told what I did. What I did or what to do. I don't like being told what to do either. I am what is known as, what do they call it? Socially, you always hear Jordan Peterson talking about it. Socially disagreeable male. I am a socially disagreeable male. Swing shift is for the new guy. Yeah. I'm so glad I don't work swing shift. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. Thank you guys for being here. What do they call it when you swing through all the shifts? That's called working at Quick Trip. Working all the shifts is awful. I've been there too. Not a Quick Trip, but just being that guy, awful. I can't tell you how many times. Here's the thing. One more thing before I go. I can't tell you how many times. Here's what's wrong with the world. How many times when I was the swing shift guy, the overnight guy would call in, and your buddy, scrambling armchair, gets to work 16 hours? Because I'm not going to leave somebody alone on an overnight, right? Since I've been the overnight guy, you know how many people have stayed when the other overnight guy called in? None. Daniel says, get some rest. Yeah, according to Steven, I need to, huh? I will see you guys later. I'm signing off now. I will be back tomorrow with thoughts on something I do not know yet. I do not have that video planned out yet, but we will be back with something.